You and I are constantly bombarded by misinformation from politicians, celebrities, and media personalities who demonize guns and gun owners. Their accounts are contrary to my experience as a responsible gun owner, a retired police officer, and a professional competitive shooter. I have listened to their lies and I've taken their punches, but I refuse to stay silent any longer because I know a lot of women who have something to say and they won in the game. They're ready to play offense with the truth.
The truth is, we all want the same thing: to protect ourselves, our families, and to be safe in our communities. The DC Project is a nationwide grassroots organization made up of women from every demographic. We come from all different walks of life, but we are united in preserving our Second Amendment rights. As we share our experiences, we push back against gun control lies and oppose those who demand our rights be restricted.
As an immigrant from Venezuela, I saw how easy it was for freedom to die. My family and I watched tyranny destroy our home. In Venezuela, the media, celebrities, and politicians repeated the same anti-gun messages until people found it normal and acceptable to give up their freedoms. The reality is, none of it is normal or acceptable. Hungry and helpless, Venezuelans are now unable to protect themselves. Now, as a proud American, I am determined to guard against the same things happening here.
We constantly hear about common sense gun control, like universal background checks, banning assault weapons, ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and gun show loopholes. Every city that is facing massive crime waves have put these policies into place. Common sense tells me that they don't work. So why do people still believe the idea that those policies save lives? Actual common sense is holding criminals accountable, not letting them out of jail or encouraging them to be more confrontational. Common sense is not stealing the right of the American people to protect themselves. This is the message that America needs to hear.
The DC Project works to reduce firearm accidents by campaigning for education in schools. We counter the false gun control lies by testifying in hearings and meeting our legislators. We equip our friends, our families, and our communities to know the truth. Gun owners are good people.
America is a beacon of freedom. The Second Amendment is vital piece in ensuring that our kids can have a free country to grow up in. We stand with the lawmakers who support the Constitution, and we provide armor from the attacks by the gun control lobby.
Join the DC Project today. Become a member, donate, or subscribe to our newsletter for updates on how we educate, advocate, and preserve our Second Amendment rights for generations to come.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Right. Ready to kick off
Well, they keep
2024.
telling us 24 is gonna be better, so I mean it can't get much worse. I don't think.
I don't know. Was it really that bad of a year? I don't
Have
think.
you bought a sandwich lately, or a can of pop, or a gallon of milk, or anything?
Okay.
Everything that's cheap as gas right now. I mean, it's still not cheap as it used to be, but everything else is ooey.
Ooh, well, I don't know. I just bought a gun and I bought primers and you're right. I bought a sandwich and there was
it
that.
when Donald Trump was president, you could have bought the whole Happy Meal for what it cost for just a sandwich now.
Oh yeah. There's
Not
a
to
little
mention the last sandwich I had out tasted like the bread was made out of sawdust. So I don't know what they're making it out of, but it's not not bread.
bit modified.
It's industrial strength cleaner or something like that.
I don't know. It is. We'll just say to all of you guys listening, it is so much fun to go to a restaurant with him because he is such a
Connoisseur.
no with the with the focus on sewer, not kinda sewer. We're just gonna say, man, the things that you eat would kill me, because I can feel my arteries clogging, slamming shut, right, just as they put it down in front of me. That is it. So what are you hoping for? Remember, we're a gun show. What are you hoping for that 2024 is going to bring you?
Bruins getting rid of the NFA. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, so Bruin getting rid of the NFA. That's your call. Got it. Okay. So the things I'm looking forward to is I found out that one of the trainers across the country that I like, that I want to train with, is hooked up with another trainer that I want to train with. And as of tomorrow morning at some ungodly hour on the East Coast, let alone the West Coast, they're opening registration for this class. So I've set my timer and I am going to register for my first class of 2024 at 5:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'm surprised you haven't figured out a way to make it just automatically register you while you're still sleeping.
That's not how it works, but okay. But I did set my timer because I'm going to be up and I'm going to be ready to go. So there's that. The Gun Rights Policy Conference has rolled out their dates, and so you and I love going to Gun Rights Policy Conference. It's hosted by the Second Amendment Foundation. If you guys want to check out their website, saf.org. And Gun Rights Policy Conference is going to California this year. And one of the things that they have done in the past, and it really looks like they continue to do so, is that they take the fight to the states that don't like us. And so we were in Chicago. So, sometimes there's some place that's convenient because of travel hubs, and sometimes they're like, in your face, man, in your face.
I think that cities don't notice or care. They're just like glad to see your tax dollars show up.
There you go. Well, we're going to San Diego. So Gun Rights Policy.
We should see if we can get on like Price is Right or something while we're out there. Wouldn't we be a blast on a game show?
I'm not sure. Do you want to be on one of those where you get a car and you get a car and you get a car?
I was thinking of nothing else. That one with the Steve Harvey where you got to guess what 100 people said or whatever.
Oh. I cannot even imagine who you would scoop up as the other three people in that group. I cannot even. Steve Harvey would not recover.
I think I could get like Rick Ector and Rob Morris to be on.
Okay. There you go.
You, me, Rick Ector, and Rob Morris.
Rob Morris, who is like a rocket scientist out of Louisiana. Then
but
Rick
he's so
Ector.
quiet he wouldn't push his button because that would offend.
Rick Ector is an engineer out of Detroit, legally armed in Detroit. If they ask any gun questions, we've got it.
Right.
But once you get past that to like real people, we'd be like, real people think like what?
Right. As long as they don't ask me no football questions, I got everything else pretty much covered.
I don't know. I'm not real good at golf or any other of those
Right. Sports
civilized
sports
sports.
are out, but I mean they can talk about like truck driving or nuclear fission or space travel or something like
Or
that.
how to make guns or manufacturing or gunpowder or how to make it or
Right.
you know all of that. Then the math and trajectory and speed of sound and light. And, yeah, we got that too. I don't think those are the kind of questions that they ask.
We're probably far ahead. Just go to California, eat, and come home.
Probably. Just saying. Probably. So, yeah, the San Diego Gun Owners Group has their official event called Gun Prom, and so I had my fingers crossed that Gun Prom and the Gun Rights Policy Conference would be someplace close together, so that when we fly 3/4 of the way across the country, we stay.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, if not else, you could look and see if there's someplace we could just rent a car and day trip over and then come back for the other. That way, you could be in 4 or 5 different states in that time frame.
Yeah, well, there's. Well, you have this pesky job.
But it's kind of free flowing, so I can come and go as I
You
need to.
could be like, I need the month of September off. I'm not sure that it's quite that free flowing.
It's pretty
Just
close.
okay, got it. So no, so if you are in the listening area and you are thinking that you want to know what's going on with Bruin, you want to know what's going on with whatever, look at September 27th through 29th for the Gun Rights Policy Conference in San Diego. So I don't know what all's in San Diego. I know that they have like a zoo. I don't know what else is out that way, but it would be interesting. I mean, I've only been to California for work, so I've not
I
really.
stopped there on the airport and then took back off again.
That doesn't count.
I never actually been in California
Oh.
anywhere but the airport. So
Yeah, well, I've been a little more than that, but it was the airport to work to the airport, right? So I got to drive the 16-lane wide in Los Angeles, but other than that, it was all good. So yeah, no. Oh, speaking of, I have a new gun that I'm going to put. Well, I being a very free-flowing term, am going to put this a red dot optics, which is really a green dot optics.
did you get the optic part yet?
So I've got all the parts, and I'm going to bring it to you as a kit
All right.
and
Simple
say,
enough.
can you make this? Can you make this do things? I'm ready for it to do things. I want to just sit and look at it, poke it with a stick, and
So
say.
now you have to have a holster that works with these optics, or they have to strategically just cut a notch out of your old holster so that it.
Oh, I don't have a holster for this gun at all. So
Okay,
this gun,
you
this
just need
is
to tell them when you buy your holster.
mhm,
that,
this is all brand new, starting out fresh, and
look at you go.
yeah, look at that, look at that. So I'm like, okay, planning this, and we'll see what happens with it, and we'll see if I like it or if I don't. But
You'll be regular John Wick with that thing.
I don't know. I probably am not going to say yes. I'm going to be that, but there you go. So, do you have a gun with a red dot?
No, I don't. When I bought I bought one of those DVGs when they first came out, and they always just show them with the red dot, and I thought that they just came with them. But when mine came, it didn't come with them, so I didn't.
So you haven't done
I
anything.
never went any further than that. I mean, I've shot hazard checks, red dot stuff. I mean, he's got 40 different like pairs of Smith & Wessons and Glocks and everything like this. And
So he's like, here, try this, try
the
that.
thing that I have trouble with is like, it seems like well, your natural point of aim when you go to look through the red dot, you have to tilt your wrist down just a little bit,
There's a
and it's like it seems like it's different than what I normally shoot. I mean, considering I can just point shoot and hit, how come I can't point shoot with the red dot? And
I was reading something about that, and Mike Ox just wrote a book on red dot stuff. So
it
we're
might
gonna.
just be because the red dot is sitting whatever 2 inches above the bore line.
I don't know. It might be. So we'll be back right after this, and he can lament some more.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and we were just, as we ended the last segment, we were talking about Second Amendment Foundation, and the Second Amendment Foundation is celebrating its 50th anniversary. So what do you think of that?
Wow.
I would have actually thought that it was older than that for the amount of things that it's accomplished.
You know, we had Alan Gottlieb on the show this summer,
Yeah.
early spring maybe, and he was telling us at that time that they had like 32 lawsuits going at one time, and he said when they first started, they didn't think they were ever going to have 32 lawsuits altogether. So
Altogether ever, let alone
Right.
that. Yeah.
And so he's gotten much busier in 50 years apparently.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and it's growing, and there's stuff that they're doing.
Well, Bruin's opening the door for him, but he still has to do the dirty work of knocking the door down once they unlock it.
Right. Because it's like Bruin is Bruin, but then somebody's got to sue for each one of those to push it
Right,
and use
and the
it.
anti-gunners are not going to give up easily. As you can see, they keep writing new "How You Like Me Now" laws to try to get around the old.
To see if you
How
even
Like Me
notice.
Now laws.
Right, exactly. So Second Amendment Foundation started something new that I think is kind of cool. It's called Capture the Flag. And so what they're doing is they are focusing on people and stories and issues and that for the misuse, misapplication, and abuses of a
Red flag laws.
red flag for extreme risk protection orders. So whether they are red flags or ERPOs, they're really the same thing. But so they are gathering those. So right now they're focusing in 6 states where they believe that those are the largest. Those
Well,
are
once
where
they can show in court that these are.
this is abuses,
Right.
Well, and these are the states these make sense: California, Florida, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Washington. Now, out of all of that, Florida is the only one that slightly surprises me. The others are, I would have expected instead of, because California makes sense, New Jersey makes sense, Maryland, Massachusetts, Washington, but Florida, I would have expected New York, Connecticut,
Well, the thing is
Oregon.
there's only so many places that have a red flag law right now, and if they get everybody to watch for it. But it's also, these are not something that's state run or something. It's individual. So you're relying on individual police departments, individual sheriff departments to handle things differently, and so that's what they're looking for, is just any place that's going to cause duress to the general public over these type of laws.
So, when Alan Gottlieb had said to you that he was surprised that there was 34, 36 lawsuits. So in the 50 years, they have been involved in more than 260 now. 260 court cases.
So that's what he said, is they had that 32 is going on at one time. So it's like, wow, that's busy in courts all across the country.
Absolutely. and so they have expanded their staff recently, but when they talk about we've doubled our staff, when you have one person and you hire a second one, it becomes 2, and we've now doubled our staff. If you have 100 and you hire another 100, that's doubling staff. They have 4 or 5, and they've added. It's at that level. Their staff is not huge, and they accomplish a lot of really good stuff.
Right, but when you're looking at some of the stuff too, is the like I say, the anti-gunners, they know how the courts work also, so they tend to block it from going to a bigger court that's going to cause, when the final demand comes down,
Right.
it doesn't do like a whole half of a country or the whole country.
They don't want it to go to the Supreme Court.
Right,
they don't want it to go to the
stay in their
district.
little district, so that it only covers part of.
They want the
2 states or
district
something.
courts to shove it down even a lower level, so that it's in a state or something, as opposed to expanding into,
Right, and so that's what you're seeing. If you watch, the judges will push it back to a smaller court, hoping to keep it from being applied to everyone.
right? Supreme Court level stuff. But man, it's headed there. It is absolutely headed there. So there's just so much good stuff. But if you are not a member, let's do the end of the year tout for what pro-gun organizations should you consider joining. Because I know that the NRA has gotten a really bad name, but keep in mind that they are the elephant in the room.
Right.
And so they funded Bruin. They fund a lot of things, and so the NRA is 300 times the size of the next largest pro-gun organization.
Well, and the thing is when the modern media still talks about the NRA, the congressmen and senators, they still talk about the NRA. So the NRA has power.
Here's the deal: is that if the NRA weren't there, the amount of, I mean, think about them as they are the break wall for the waves coming in of hate and anti-gunners, right?
Right.
And if they weren't there, then the smaller staffed organizations like Second Amendment Foundation
would be taking a beating.
Would be taking that beating. So you want that. So I will say that I strongly suggest that you become a member of the NRA. You become a life member of Second Amendment Foundation. It is a very inexpensive thing.
Is the NRA is really a pretty good deal considering what it costs and the book that they send out.
Correct.
I mean, if you were just buying that book, you would easily
subscription would be more than the $35
Yep.
That's membership. Well, so there's that, and then join your state organization. And if you've got a couple state organizations, sort through and figure out which one, but join your state organization. And that's kind of where I'm at, is to on the national level.
Well, the Gun Owners of America is starting to get a national name that everyone is starting to pay attention to.
They are. So Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America. The only thing that I want you to know is that there are a couple of the organizations who are not-for-profits and a couple of the organizations who are for-profits. And so depending on where you are and your tolerance to that water level, know that. So NRA and SAF are not-for-profits. The others are for-profits. We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so there is a thing. There's a thing called gun-free zones, and
hey, ho, ho.
Gun-free zones have got to
go,
go,
or something,
right?
I
Something like
believe
that. Well, there's these gun-free zones, and so they say in gun-free zones that there shouldn't be guns, right? And so last week we covered a story where we were talking about the gun-free zones, and in that story we were talking about how truly gun-free are gun-free zones, and they're not.
Right, they were in those stories. They were even talking about inside of prisons, and they had found loaded guns stashed in different places.
Right, all of that. So,
so if you gotta go through metal detectors and frisk jobs and everything else.
Well, yeah, interestingly, you know, they had found one at the sheriff's department, and their words were that a woman had snuck the gun inside the facility as she was being booked, though he thankfully spared us the details of how exactly she managed to do that. so there's that. So this week's story of guns is that one. So there are
5 guns found in Baltimore schools.
Right. So they have found guns in places where they shouldn't have guns. So in that, one of them belonged to a staff member who had forgotten it in their purse. So my question is, how do they know?
And then they said at least one of the other 4 guns were a student bringing a gun.
Right.
And then for the other 3, it's
that they hadn't shared exactly what happened with them or where they were.
Truly ghost guns, because nobody knows.
Nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows anything about them, right? Yeah. So I don't know. But are gun-free zones really gun-free? It doesn't look like it.
No, it looks to me like the prudent person keeps his own gun in his own pocket because he may need it because no one else follows the rules either.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at it. This one is Baltimore. So Baltimore does not. There are schools that allow you to have armed staff. There's schools that bring in armed staff. So they bring in a school resource officer or somebody on campus. They bring in somebody who is armed and as part of the security squad. Baltimore doesn't believe in any of that, and so instead they only get a police officer when they call for one, and by the time they call for one, it's way too late. But they're a gun-free zone, so they don't think that they have a problem at all because we've said we're a gun-free zone. And so because we've declared it so, let it be so.
Well, it's nice to live in a place like inside of your head like that. If you
That is just so yeah. It's inside my head says that if I say it so, then that'll be where the rules are, right?
right, you've
Yeah.
never had a disappointment in your life, have you?
I don't know. I'm just talking about the PTO, the parent-teacher
Right,
organizations
it's-
and the school boards.
Well, the thing
and
is they make it sound like if they took all the guns, load them in a truck to go out and dump them in the ocean, there would be no more crime or anything.
there'd be no more evil, no more crime, no more murders, no
But
more death, no more.
If you read about the Middle Ages, they didn't really have guns at that point. They were still somewhat,
They were using rocks and sticks and
sharp
rocks tied
brass,
to sticks and
sometimes bronze-tipped swords and all kinds of stuff. So they were not a friendly group. Let's put it that way.
well, so there is that. So this is back to. I'm gonna try to just pick up a story
The
every
other day,
chance I get
I
for
sent
gun-free
you an
zones.
article, a thing on. It was a story on an interview on YouTube, and the one guy was saying he was expressing the liberal viewpoint.
He
and
was an
said that-
admitted anti-gunner liberal who had been involved in lawsuits, and he was primarily on the losing side.
Right, but he said that the places where they tend to make a gun-free zone and take your gun from you is the place that makes you need to have the gun.
Right. So even he, who goes to court to fight to take your gun away from you, well, it's sort of like, where's the story on New York and the new New York City mayor who says that though he's anti-gun and he's got a tough on crime policy and he's all this, he's like, I cringe when I have to have a family member get on the metro. I think that was.
I think this is the one. This story
Yeah.
about a guy on Christmas Day knifed two juveniles on the train at the Grand Central Station, and they had arrested him beforehand, and they wanted to hold him for mental
health problems. So they.
Right, and the judge let them go, and on his own recognizance, and so.
Because he said he's fine. He's fine. He said so. There you go. That's
Yeah. So
that's it.
anyhow, they said that they said that this attempted murderous Christmas that these two girls had went through. This is their permanent view of New York City almost being murdered.
Well.
It's like, yep, you're not going to change that no matter how many songs you sing or.
Say, New York, New York, right? You could have Frank Sinatra singing the greatest stuff forever, and yeah.
Yep, you can call it whatever, Big Apple, Big whatever, and they're still.
Right, and
you
they're
don't
going to
get
be
a-
like, yeah, the big stabbing place.
When
Here,
you
this
get
is it.
knifed
Yeah.
for Christmas, it's not.
Right.
Doesn't tend to make you want to come back.
Because the other thing is that this dude, because of the threats that he had made, he should have been in jail prior to that. So whether he was in jail because of the crimes, or the threats of crimes, or he was in jail, or he was in evaluation because he made those threats, and who in their right mind would make those threats? So one way or another, he should have been contained. Because he either meant it or he didn't know he meant it. And so one of the two should have cleared the issue. But no, we are soft on crime.
Well, there's another one where they're saying that the number two reason that that people are complaining about New York was the.
Go ahead.
Well, it says that more than half the New Yorkers believe that the state is in a decline, and they figure that crime is listed as the number two reason, and the other part is that the economy is so bad that they can't afford to live in town anymore. So number one is it costs too much, and number two is that somebody's stealing our stuff.
Well, and the interesting part is it costs too much. And so if you watch economy-wise, right now you are going to see you're seeing commercial spaces get cheaper because the buildings are empty and renters are going away, and you're seeing companies allow people to work from home, and they can work from home wherever, so they don't have to be in downtown New York City. They can be somewhere else, and so
that's
so
the thing
there is that.
when you take the workforce out of town, it not only hurts the building renter people,
Right.
but all the bars,
stores,
the restaurants, everything. There's
Mm-hmm.
parking garages.
Right.
Everybody suffers because they're not getting the money that they were getting.
Right. Well, it was an economy that was set up based on this group of people and this amount of action and this amount of traffic and this amount of momentum, and it's not.
We changed it for COVID. Is it going to go back, or is it always going to stay like this? Because people found out that they don't really need to pay that exorbitant amount for these buildings.
I believe
and
that
also then you're not subjected to the crime of the inner city. You're not subjected to $10 cups of coffee. And
it's really kind of interesting. So I believe that probably 30% of large corporations are going to allow work from home. I also believe that if as you start to read things, you're finding out that people who are now enjoying the work from home, if they don't have that split thing where they have to go to the office sometimes, they are moving out of state, and in some cases they are moving out of the country. And so they are living in some exotic location where there's beaches and palm trees, as opposed to
work a couple of days a week and then take the rest of the time off and enjoy their life.
Exactly. So it's changing. So it's changing all of that. So what's happening is then we are leaving the cities to those who do not have that ability to leave. And so I believe that crime is going to continue to grow. I believe that you're going to see a major shift in what happens, because they're trying to take the commercial real estate and turn it into housing. But the second part is that if you don't have to work there, you don't necessarily have to live there.
Right. So what they do is they turn it into housing that then the government's paying for. So there's they complain about the fact they don't have money, but they're spending more and more money.
Well, and there we go, and they're going to be so keep an eye on what's happening in New York, because the mayor who says he's a tough on crime mayor is not a tough on crime mayor.
The thing is,
and his prosecutor is not, the district attorney is not a tough on crime district attorney. And so the mayor's quoted as saying, when one of my family members gets on the train, I get a knot in my stomach. That says I don't believe it's comfortable or safe, and I don't allow them, based on all of this, to protect themselves. So it's kind of crazy. But what is it about seawater that makes things anti-gun? Because look at California, Washington, Oregon, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. There's something going on there. I don't know. You guys think about it, and I'm open to comments. We'll be back right after this.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so the fight is headed to California. That is where Bruin is helping the Californians out. So they have a magazine ban that the pundits say is unconstitutional. So now,
the judge has said it multiple times
that it's unconstitutional. So there's a variety that are saying that. So now 25 states attorney generals or attorneys general.
I don't know, but are they going to say keep your nose on your own face?
No, that's not how this works. They don't have to keep their nose on their own face. They get to be like, I am the attorney general for a state, and I get to have an opinion on other states that potentially may impact me. So things that are like things. So 25 states file an amicus brief in this court case.
I wonder if it's the same that have constitutional carry or not.
There is a spot where, let's see, Wyoming, West Virginia, Texas, South Dakota, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Ohio, North Dakota. New Hampshire, Nebraska, Missouri, Mississippi, Louisiana, Kentucky, Kansas, Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Georgia, Arkansas, Alaska, and Alabama. So I don't know. Mostly, yeah. I didn't do it.
Just fighting about the fact that they had some kind of assault weapons ban also going on.
I don't know. Since that's a made-up term, let's.
This looks like they talk it out of both sides of their mouth.
Well, it may be that their attorney general is a pro-gun conservative
He's a right side mouth talker, and the other guy's a left side mouth talker.
I'm not quite sure about that. But the interesting, so that is good. I mean, you really do want that, and so they are involved, and they're making a statement, and so. Let's see. Here's the quote. The district court properly concluded that California's law unconstitutionally restricts the fundamental right to keep and bear common firearm magazines typically possessed for lawful purposes. Okay, so that makes sense to all of us. This court should follow the Supreme Court's mandate from Heller, McDonald, and Bruin. You heard it here. By affirming the district court's decision based on text, history, and tradition associated with the Second Amendment and magazines with a capacity of over 10 rounds. Standard capacity, if you will, not
extended capacity. Huh?
Right. What are they? Yeah, they're just large capacity. It's standard capacity. If the gun was designed with it, then that would be standard.
Sometime, I don't know exactly what the date was, but Ohio had a 32 round
limit
on there. So it's like 32 was good, but 33 was bad. And it was mainly because the Luger pistol came with a 32 round magazine. So they accompanied that, but they didn't.
But so a 50 round drum was like.
But so Tommy guns and that
were
not. But I mean, everybody still had them, but they were not legal at that time.
They just wink, nod.
If you're lucky enough that Grandma had a 100-round drum in her dresser drawer or something like that, look at it, because some of those, if they got Bridgeport address or something, they're worth a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah. Don't hide it. Don't. Yeah, there is all that. So the other part that is interesting in there is that California. Their argument is that it really isn't a magazine ban that we're working on. It's an excess of gunpowder in one location. Is that a stretch? I mean, that stretch is so stretched that it defies any kind of reality to say, well, we really don't have a problem.
They don't say that you can't have 110 round magazines. They just say you can't have a 30 round magazine. So
there's that. And oh, by the way, since you buy it in 50 rounds in a box,
right?
Then carrying it in a 30 round magazine would be offensive, but in a 50 round box is not.
I can tell you that
giant holes in their theory.
The reloaders. They don't have a law against it, but they caution you against, like, if you're loading 45-70s with black powder and stuff, to not have more than 100
sitting on the bench,
right, without bullets pressed into them, because you have a 100 or a pound of loose gunpowder at that
sitting
time
on the kitchen table.
So
right,
they caution you to limit you to exposure to 1 pound at a time, so that you only have a minor fire instead of a major one.
Okay. Well, there is some knowledge and education associated with those kinds of things. Who would think? I mean,
somebody who was probably smoking a cigarette and loading 200 rounds of 45-70s.
No, they were not the thinker.
They would
have been the reactionary one. They would be the thing that your mom said, when Uncle Earl did this, it didn't go so good. They would be the example used.
There was a gun shop here in Ohio in the 60s. The guy had a keg of powder, and he was scooping it out, putting it in the baggies and that. And some customer thought that it was an ashtray and put his gunpowder down and blew the whole shop apart and killed a couple people. And that. But that's probably something you should be doing in the back room and not on the front counter too. So,
well, and
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not funny, but
No, it's not funny. It's
but
that.
you can see it happening.
Oh.
I mean, and I've seen people like muzzle loading shooters where they open the can of powder, they pour it in the gun, and they leave the can sitting there open while they shoot the gun. Well, if you watch that at night, there's sparks flying everywhere. So all it takes is one spark in that can, and you have a little, like a 1 pound hand grenade that
Yeah.
rearranges your clothing.
It burns your beard, things like that, right?
You probably need to have some metal detection work after that to get all the parts
Just
out.
make sure that, shrapnel would be the word. And so you're grateful with the fact that 95% of it goes in a direction that's not where you are.
Right.
But that 5% could really hurt.
Right. So that's the thing is, it's always best to put the lid back on, pay attention, and
Right. But California, with the bullet in it, the lid is on.
But you gotta admit though that they had some thought put into that to try to
that is, I mean, there's far-fetched,
but when you
and
look
then
at
there's fetched.
They don't teach that critical thinking anymore, and that whoever critical thought that out was like that was bonus points. I mean, that guy should get extra hot chocolate or something.
There you go. So we're gonna give him credit for being
when you're trying to think of what is the worst and what's the best and
how can you get around the darn Bruin thing to make it work in the direction you want it to work.
You know, the thing is, we talk about Bruin, and it has a completely different meaning to us than other people for some reason. But if you listen like that thing I was talking about the other day, to what they have to say about Heller and that, I mean, McDonald's was kind of a small potatoes thing compared to Heller.
Right.
And the way that they were talking was that Heller was actually bigger than Bruin, but
nobody did anything with it.
Did anything with it. And so I think that some of Bruin is going to wake up Heller, and
I think between the two of them, we are headed in a direction to where we have been in erosion of gun rights for 90 years, 1934, right? So for 90 years, and all of a sudden the tide is turning, and
like Trump says, winning.
We're gonna win so much you're gonna be tired of winning. So that's kind of where we feel like we are with this. When we come back after the commercial break, we've got more stories, and let's talk about your cell phone company.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
stand by.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, so I'm reading an article from John Crump, and John he's a Washington, D.C. based deep thinker. There's no doubt, absolutely no doubt about it. But this article is about the fact that T-Mobile, T-Mobile, the cell phone company T-Mobile, has created a new line of fines for non-compliance for violations that are for advertising, for anybody. You know how right now you're getting you get unsolicited, unasked for texts that said, hey, by the way, if you want to, the vote here, or I'm selling you this, or I'm doing that. Well, T-Mobile is going to head some of this off by making their new terms of service starting January 1st of 2024, that they will fine companies that are advertising things that may not be legal in every one of the 50 states. So if they are advertising something that is illegal in one of the 50 states, there will be a fine associated with it. So if any of the companies are doing any of the phishing or smishing or social engineering kind of things, those that annoy you, this one, is $2,000 an occurrence that T-Mobile is going to charge them. But here's where it gets interesting. On tier 2 is for illegal content. So if you are marketing and advertising something that is illegal in one of the 50 states, then all of a sudden there's a fine associated with it. So CBD, marijuana,
gas stoves,
magazines, certain firearms. So there's a wide variety of things.
Children.
So look at that. So
they're effectively killing off advertising, is what you're saying.
Text marketing advertising is the only thing you're going to get is the political ads on your cell phone texting. But yeah, because they're going to so there's 3 different tiers of it, and it'll be interesting. But the one where firearms can fit into that is the fact that it is not necessarily everything is not legal in all 50 states. So the next level is, so if they're trying to sell you a gun magazine that is not legal in your state, that would be a finable offense. But if they send you sexting, texting, hate messages, trying to market alcohol, firearms, and tobacco, just in general, even though those are legal, they're not legal to everyone. So since someone who's under 18 may own a phone, then there's a $500 violation to that. So this is going to be an interesting...
I think they call that a moneymaker, is what I think.
Yeah, they have a whole new profit center going on for T-Mobile. But here's what I think is going to happen.
If you shoot out a thing, and I don't know how many phones you're going to get it to, but you get one fine for $500, and you sell 30,000 of whatever it is.
Well,
you're selling.
is it that, or is it per occurrence? So is it every phone that receives it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
guess you have to read the fine print, but if it's just a $500 a day to shoot it out, but I'm selling 30,000 units,
then you're like, oh, that's
soak that up without a problem.
That's called a good investment. Is that where you're going? Okay. So it's just
So it's a
interesting.
feel-good move to the general public, like they're going to do something about this, but they're really not doing anything.
And see, the other part of that is that you've got one guy who's sending it, and then somebody who's receiving it. You can't find the receiver, and since the company, so I think what it'll be is that companies will not use T-Mobile. They will switch to another provider, another carrier, another something, and because then they wouldn't have signed the terms of service, which means that they are not finable or punishable because they didn't agree to the contract.
Right.
So I think that though, yeah, it may be a profit center, I think in the end it's going to be one of those we didn't
drive your job away.
We didn't think about that. Yeah, that's kind of where I think that's going to end up. So there is an investigation that's happening in New Mexico that I want to label as "I told you so." Well, I've been telling you so for a long time.
New Mexico is an anti-gun government, but pro-gun people.
Right.
It's kind of a two-sided coin there, and
It's
I
be
don't
careful
know why,
who you vote
it
for.
makes me
is
wonder,
what-
why do those people hate themselves so bad that they put that government in charge of them?
I don't know, but so they have a New Mexico. I don't know what the name of the organization is. So it's a gun control group, but it's NMPGV. So I don't know, New Mexico something vigilantes. I get to make it up in my head, whatever we're gonna name it. But okay. But anyhow, they're an anti-gun group of activists. And so they staged a gun buyback program. Well, New Mexico doesn't have no harm, no foul, and they do have, since as you said, they're anti-gun in their government, you have to do a gun transfer. So they're doing gun buybacks, and so they're going to people's houses and buying guns for gift cards, and they're saying, well, no money's exchanged. Well, it's a gift card, it has a value, so yes, it is. Then they're saying, oh, well, we destroyed the gun before we took possession of it. And the San Juan County Sheriff, he's saying, no, you didn't, because you don't know how to. You dismantled it, but dismantling it does not destroy it, as much as you may think that now you've got all these parts in a box that you've broke it.
Takes somebody 10 minutes to put it back together again.
Right. And so now they're whining that he cares more about those 9 destroyed, air quotes, destroyed guns than for the safety of his community from gun violence. And it's like, well, laws are laws and words have meaning. So this really is the first guy who is enforcing you can't have a gun buyback if you didn't own it in the first place.
This kind of reminds me of that where they sent that news team to buy the gun, I think in Arizona.
Katie Kirk, and then
they
went to another state and bought it and came back.
Right, and then they said they destroyed it and this and that, and it turned out that the sheriff's department ended up with it, and they auctioned it off again to somebody else because that's the way their state's rules are run. So
that's the way they run it. But okay,
turned into they just put another gun into the system by running their mouth.
They just spent some money. There you go. There you go. But yeah, so it's very interesting. So I appreciate the stand that the sheriff has on this. If each and every individual that buys a gun to use for self-defense has to go through a background check to have that gun, then every one of the anti-gun people who buy a gun for the feel-good motion of it should have to do the same thing. They should be responsible for it.
The worst part of this whole thing is that, like, it used to be on eBay, you could buy all kinds of stuff, and eBay has changed the rules so much that the gun people have pretty much abandoned ship. They don't go there like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a ton of people who buy historical artifacts and then tear them apart and then sell the pieces on there because not allowed to sell a whole gun. So you can go in there and buy old Winchester parts and old Japanese rifle parts and all this stuff. So they're taking a good quality historical piece and tearing it apart to make a couple $100 on the parts because they can't sell the whole thing. And so they're stealing your heritage from you little at a time for a couple bucks in the corner because of the rules on these. They have no idea if the gun that they have is super rare or not. They just know that they bought it and they tore it apart and they're going to make
it's mine and I'm making dollars. And but it is theirs and they get to do that, and that makes the other ones more valuable. At the same time,
if there is other ones,
if there is,
so it's so funny. The Japanese rifles, they were so cheesy looking that we as Americans had contempt for them.
Right.
Basically, they gave them to the kids to play with, and that there was not much.
We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So, well, sometimes the things that Rob says off air are priceless, but not for consumption.
So
for in
anyway,
public.
going back to
Yeah,
the
you were
Japanese
talking.
stuff, we were talking about the Japanese rifles had. We had contempt for them and I remember when I was a kid, I could buy them at yard sales and auctions for $10, and it wasn't until just recently, I'd say in the last 15 years, that they started writing books about them and people had an understanding. And they've found a couple of different models of rifles that people have had in their closet or bedroom or bathroom or basement or wherever they were. Were actually unknown versions in the past. And so they had a ton of different uses for things. They have ones that have like bolt holes in the stock that bolt onto an artillery piece for sighting the artillery piece in. So you could unbolt it and use it as a rifle, but you could also, you bolted it on and then
it was the sights for.
Right, they shot the tracer round, and then wherever that went, that's where the big round would go.
Okay. Because nobody's really afraid of the tracer round because it's just this little.
Well, and it's cheap to shoot, and so you just shoot a couple of them till you get to where if you're aiming at a hole in the side of a mountain or whatever, or a truck or whatever, you can shoot these little tracer rounds and watch it, and then once you see that you hit, then you send the big one in.
There you go. There you
Hold
go.
on to your hat. We're spending some money.
We're going in. Wow. So I think we're sitting on an article that is going to be the next test case for the Supreme Court. So there is a guy, and his name is Jeremy Wilburn, and he's from Allen Park, Michigan. And so Jeremy at some point had, early in his life, so he said that he was a juvenile when he was involved in something that took him to a spot of giving him a domestic violence conviction. So whether he was a juvenile or just over the age, or
juvenile delinquent and his mother couldn't control him,
something, but so he had a domestic violence charge against him, and he then kept his nose clean, and in February of 2022 he went and had
an expungement.
So he had it expunged, but the judge, I mean, what happened to him in 2008 was not something that he didn't go to jail for it. The judge put him on probation and ordered him to take a domestic violence class. He got no jail time. And in February of 2022, that was wiped from his record. You keep your nose clean, kid, we'll clear your record.
Right, an expungement, it says
Is
in there,
supposed to
is
be
completely obliterate your record so that it's not detectable to anyone.
It's supposed to be that it wipes it completely from your record.
Except for the ATF has a secret.
The all-seeing eye, right?
I was thinking like Miss Barbara's magic window thing she used to
From
watch.
Romper Room. I see Bobby and Billy, and in this case Jeremy, and yeah, I was thinking more of like a one of the.
That thing probably went to the Smithsonian, and the ATF probably got it.
No, do you know that? Do you know that every not town, but every like TV group had a different Miss Barbara, because they wasn't. Miss Barbara was local.
Bring that on me.
So Miss Barbara was local for Cleveland.
Oh, I thought that was the
No,
national.
she was at the Cleveland market. It was a franchise. So there was Miss Stephanie over here and Miss Susan over there and whatever. So Miss Barbara was ours.
Oh, I'm glad I'm 63 and know that now instead of when I was little.
Because she was looking even closer. You thought
that
she
wouldn't have gone good for me.
But so in this case, this guy, he got it expunged from his record. He because of that, now he can have a firearm. So he bought a gun. He was doing gun safety videos on YouTube. So gun safety videos. What does the country need more of? Gun safety videos, gun safety education, right?
That's what drew attention to him.
Exactly. That's where Miss Barbara saw him, was doing his gun safety video. And so the ATF
they say no good deed goes unpunished.
So the ATF shows up and says that an expungement doesn't really count for them. It doesn't. And so they came and took all of his stuff, and so now it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Well, we're already seeing the Supreme Court right now is dealing with a guy who, I mean, he's not a stellar citizen.
Nope.
But he...
and that was domestic violence, and then this is going to be...
It's a domestic violence, so it may be that once this first case is done, it'll settle this second case at the same time.
It may be the same thing, but you look at this and you're like, look, I mean, there is a spot when you pay your debt to society, and you go in front of the judge, and the judge says it's all good, and you're all clear, and here's what we're going to do, and you continue on living your life, as they say, fat, dumb, and happy.
All I can think of is 90 days, Jerry. When you're hot, you're hot.
Right. Got the coal mine. She got the coal mine. Yeah, but that's sort of it. This is going to be. It's going to be an extremely interesting, and there's a spot where you look at people who were on, as they say, the wrong side of the law, and you're like, how can you be so boneheaded? And then you see somebody like this, and it's like, you've done everything right, and you're still on the wrong side of the law. How can you be wrong when everybody told you were fine?
We're going to reset this thing soon, I think, because the timeout chair is done, and we're going to have to be mean to criminals. So if you were such a criminal that they cannot reform you, they'll have to deal with it. But if they can reform you, then they're going to have to step away from you at the end and allow you to live your life.
When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the Speaker of the House, Michael Johnson, and some of his thoughts, and maybe where Congress can help and take a stand on a little bit of this. We'll be right back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so we have not had this in quite a while. The Speaker of the House in the United States Congress, Speaker of the House is pro-gun. How can that happen?
By accident.
I'm telling you.
Thank you, Matt Getz, I believe is the...
is where that is, but yeah.
Which is, my friends, they're like, oh, that guy's a jerk, but he did us a huge favor, I think.
I don't think that was the favor he was planning on handing you. I think it just is
a happy circumstance.
It's a happy circumstance from we're heading for trouble now. But there's that. So the interesting part is do you know where Speaker Mike Johnson's position is on some of the Second Amendment stuff?
No, I don't.
Okay.
You're going to tell me, right?
He is a staunch supporter of H.R. 38, the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. So that would be concealed carry reciprocity on a national level. So that would be, if he says that he wants it as a bill, somebody will bring it as a bill for the Speaker.
Well, the thing is it should be that, like driver's license, if you're good at your home, it's good across the country.
Right.
And,
well, and with him there, and with the Supreme Court that we've got, we may be headed there.
Too, it's so goofy that all of a sudden they're going to make it to where every state has different rules. So when you get to the state line, you have to stop and read the vacation manual to see.
It's not like it works for driving, right? So there's that. The other one is that he supports legislation that prohibits federal funds from being used by states to establish or maintain firearms ownership databases. I would love to see him say federal funds being used to encourage red flag laws, but but the firearms ownership databases not using federal funds is another good move. But the one that truly comforted me was his answer in a series of questions was that the Biden administration's ATF has become increasingly hostile to gun owners. That was part of his answer. And then he's like, and we'll do blah, blah, blah. But the sheer recognition to the fact that someone has weaponized the ATF against its citizenry is
well, and the fact
huge.
that he's the guy who's only allowed to make gun laws, so it's like, why will he allow them to try to weaponize against it?
Well, he says it's imperative that congressional safeguards of the Second Amendment be put in place and push back against executive overreach. So it's one of those bumper stickers of Mike Johnson, not on my watch, and I truly, truly appreciate that. But when you look at that, and then you listen to that story that we just had about the Michigan guy who an expungement doesn't count for an expungement to the ATF because somehow they had records that they shouldn't have had to track something that they shouldn't have saw, just kind of says that it's a problem. And
that's because nobody updates the records like they're supposed to.
Again,
same problem they have with the Air Force.
There's all that. So I am absolutely thrilled that Mike Johnson, this is the stand that he's taking on the Second Amendment stuff. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Did you see this article? The police department in New York says that they now can tell you how many ghost guns they deal with on a yearly basis.
Right. Well, they keep talking about it by percentages, and they're saying there's a 700% surge in ghost guns.
But the thing is they're not telling you what the total number of regular guns was, so that you can figure the percentages yourself. They also do not distinguish between a gun that's manufactured currently without a serial number.
Their definition of a ghost gun is a non-serialized gun. So let's talk about how would you get a gun that's non-serialized.
So a lot of guns built before 1968 were non-serialized.
Ghost guns.
Then also the new polymer frame stuff and that, or if you just
built yourself kit stuff. Yep.
If you made yourself a gun out of real steel, is a one-off deal. You don't have to put a serial number.
Those are non-serialized also.
Right, and then
the third option is
it had a serial number and somebody obliterated it because they were thinking somebody would be able to track them down. But if you don't leave the gun where you're at, they can't track it down, and if they catch you with it, then they don't have to track it because they know you already
know you have it, and if there's a serial number obliterated. I can't say that word. I'm done. It's scratched off.
It's a serial number scratched off.
It's a serial number. I'm just gonna go with. It's like a lottery ticket. We're just gonna scratch it off.
Right.
With the serial number, so it is made indistinguishable, so you can't read it. That would be that thing where dude, this is what you call a clue.
Well, the funny part
something is going on here.
When we had a gun shop back in the day, and you would get guns from other countries. They would bring these import guns in, and a lot of times they were one gun was 7 guns all made into one. So one number was the chosen number that they said, or sometimes they didn't use any of the factory numbers and they electric penciled a new number.
They give you a whole new number.
So now it had 8 numbers instead of 7. But who's to say what number the next guy's using or anything? Right. So this numbering thing it's a game that they're playing. It has nothing to do with
reality.
Right.
But so I'm going down a rabbit hole. So if you had a gun that someone has scratched off the serial number, and you just put a whole new another serial number on it, Would it be considered legal or non-legal?
It would be illegal for you. You have to petition the government for them to give you a number. You can't just pick one. So you can't just say
But how do they know-
PR549 on the thing.
How do they know that Cousin Freddie didn't just pick the number, or Cousin Freddie didn't petition the government, and when you got it, it already had that number?
Well, sometimes if it has a new assigned number from the ATF, it's actually stamped on the gun that this number's a new assigned number.
But it
from the
doesn't
ATF.
say new assigned number.
I believe this says ATF assigned and then the number.
Really? So you have all room for all those words?
I've seen it like that.
I'm thinking that that's one of those things, kind of like our brother Bill used to say, "My brother said,"
but
right?
I've
Not
also
because it
seen-
was.
I've also seen where they had duplicate numbers and then they would just stamp one with a D,
Right.
and the other one didn't have a D.
Okay.
So if you got the one with the D, you knew there was another one out there with that same number. But if you got the other one,
You didn't
were
know.
oblivious to the fact. You probably can't say that either. That its brother was out there somewhere hiding in the bushes with a D in it.
Right. Okay.
Then too, I've seen them where they had petitioned the government and just had an R and an L stamped on them so that they had
Right and left.
handle. And
They had to.
just so they were different, they just had to be
Right.
different.
Unique serialization. So they could put on their BR549, but it would just be that it had to have been before you got it to be BR549.
Right. I mean, it's kind of funny. The Colt black powder stuff from the original series, when they stopped making black powder guns in 1870, they stopped at, say, 138,661. When they started making second generation black powder guns in the 1980s, they started out with 13,682, and went on up. So they
knew it. They
just took the same number and
Okay.
kept going. So
because prior to 1968, they were not required to serialize, but a lot of them did for tracking, for...
Well, some of it they wanted to know how many guns they made, also when they changed or different models they had. But also, too, I mean, if it wasn't for the happy coincidence that Sam Colt was out of business when he needed to make guns, and Eli Whitney and his interchangeable parts thing was just happened to be handy.
Okay.
we would have had a lot of problems with gun manufacturing over the years because no two parts would fit together.
Because I got my file and I'm making this one work.
Colt started his second factory with all this parts that are interchangeability. Everybody else kind of played along.
There you go. The cotton gin is the grandfather to the firearm in sort of a way.
Right, except no substitutions. The Colt patent system was the best.
Okay. Man, my nose itches. What does an itchy nose say?
You probably get punched.
Gonna get punched in it. What's coming up for 2024? I'm gonna get punched in the nose. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah, I don't know. The night's still young. I mean, you still got to go till midnight. You can get punched in it tonight.
It might be 2023 that I get punched in the nose. I try very hard not to interact with people who would punch me in the nose, but I know that there's times when I annoy you, but I don't think I annoy you bad enough that you punch me in the nose. But I really don't think so. I don't at all.
So they're saying 2023 was a good year for firearms carry because so many states went into constitutional carry, or what do they call it? Florida didn't use that.
Permitless carry.
Right.
Yeah, so because they can't call it constitutional carry when they didn't throw everything in the Constitution bucket. They only did part of
Right,
that.
you can't
stuff.
take your shotgun or your rifle.
Well, and there's a bunch of other little rule that's in there too. So I get their point. I really do get their point that it is permitless carry. But we were winning. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, here we go. So, this commercial break, Rob is talking about just how easy it is to change the caliber of a rifle. And it doesn't sound easy to me. It really doesn't sound easy to me.
I have a man that calls it a noodling gun. So it's it was built in the 50s for bench fish shooting, and it's like a 24-pound class gun. So it's got a giant barrel on it, and
so you got to visualize this. You know, how much does a typical firearm weigh? 5 pounds?
Yeah, about 5-6 pounds.
This is 24 pounds. So it's it's
It's got an
obese.
1.75-inch stainless steel barrel with a 22 caliber hole in it.
And then it's got this squatty little stock that's made to lay on its belly,
right,
kind
so-
of like
and
a
it's
carp.
about 8 inches wide with a brass trim on it to help add some weight to it.
So it kind of looks like, when you watch those Louisiana shows where they're sticking their hand down in the hole and then they pull out the carp. That's what it.
They find
Catfish. Okay, that's what it looks like. It just kind of looks like
giant, ugly looking catfish.
it does. It does. So
But anyhow, the rifle I have is in .222 Remington Magnum, which was a popular caliber late 50s, early 60s in the bench rest community, but has long since gone away.
okay, so they no longer make this ammo.
You
but
you can get the brass and stuff like that, but it's hard to find is all. And
But what? Tell me about this bench rest shooting sport, because it doesn't look like there's a sport to it. It's like lay your catfish out here and then reach over there and poke it.
well, it's not so much about you shooting as much as your load development and your rifle and your technique of getting. You want all your bullets to go in the same hole. So I mean, for a long time, the Spear had a picture in their loading manual of a guy who shot a perfect .224 group with his .224 diameter rifle.
Okay.
And so you can't hardly make the hole smaller since that's the size the bullets are. So it's just a game that they just try to be as precise as possible.
Okay.
And then they've since changed some of it and they move in and out and do different things. But these rifles were built special purpose, single shot. They just load up and shoot. But I mean, you're playing with the length of the bullet, the type of projectile, the powder charges, everything. I mean, to the point where sometimes they only use one cartridge case. They don't resize the case because it's already swelled up to the size of the chamber.
Okay, so for perfection, they have one brass case, and
they load it right there at the bench. So when they shoot the gun, they leave the action open. Sometimes they have an air tube that blows like propane down it to cool the barrel. Then they reload that case right there at the bench.
So with like the little scoop and all that, or
Right,
how do they get it
and
precise
sometimes
enough?
it's with hand tools. Sometimes they actually have a loading press right there. But anyhow, a lot of times they'll only just neck size so that the case diameter stays the same size as the chamber, so it goes in. Sometimes the case is marked so that the top is
You
up,
know where
so-
the top is.
so that it goes in
my.
exactly the same place.
Okay, so 12
Because
o'clock is 12 o'clock.
If the case is laying on the bottom of the chamber, when you pull the trigger and the firing pin pushes it forward and it kind of starts to self-center, you can't say that it's going to self-center every time to the same spot if there's room in there. So by it already being there, it's self-centered, now it doesn't have that issue with it.
Have I told you that your friends are weird?
But everybody just got to try to be a little different. That's all.
I guess by being the same. This group. Okay, got it. Okay, so over the break, he's like going, "Oh well, maybe I'll just take this down to the gun shop."
I was just
and
gonna
have them-
unscrew the barrel, cut a ½ inch off the back, rethread it, rechamber it, and stick it back on and shoot .223 ammo in it, instead of having to shoot this weird .222 Magnum.
Okay. So, but since you can buy the brass and you can reload .222, though you don't like it, you don't like reloading .223 either.
No, I don't. But I mean, but the rifle's
Okay.
good. But this way, whatever my little suitcase of bullets is all the bullets I got. Where if it's .223, I have all the bullets on the planet available to me at this
Okay.
point. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I
If
would
I'm just
think
carrying
that
around 400 rounds of bullets, I have a 400 round limit, and I'm clutchy at that point.
well, you're carrying the giant catfish, so I'm pretty sure that you'll be bored before you get through
You
400
don't have
rounds.
to carry it very far because it's built to shoot really accurate at long distances. So you just got to find a spot where you can prop it up on something, and it can work at a pretty good distance at that
Okay. Okay. So it's just
if it's built to shoot its own bullet hole, I mean, think about how big a groundhog is compared to a bullet hole.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think that you've got flexibility. The groundhog has to be in the same spot all the time.
Well, you can move this around a little bit. It's just you just don't go near the trigger because it's got like about a 8-ounce trigger on it.
So I'm just thinking it's kind of like I could see you with this set up as like a turret on the top of your pickup truck.
Right? That'd be a good plan.
Would be a good plan. Okay. Okay. So that was not anywhere near anything that was planned in our show, but I'm just gonna say, there you go. An absolutely interesting thing is there are some areas of Ohio that are extremely anti-gun. And I mean, you might as well say that they are the Cincinnati,
well, you see the Columbus and we're suing now because we have preemption and they don't like it. So
right.
They're trying to change some of that. The other story you have with this Ohio prosecutor, they actually went after a guy for shooting a robber because the robber was robbing the store.
Right.
And but then they come out and made a public statement that says the robber should expect to get shot if they're in that line of work.
So they did both of those, but then they did file charges against the manager of the smoke shop, the vape shop, whatever. And part of those charges, so this is a suburb of Cincinnati. The guy that run the vape shop was a what is the word? Precluded person.
He wasn't allowed to own a gun?
Correct. So he wasn't allowed to own a gun. So he was a prohibited person, that's the word. He's a prohibited person because he had a felony conviction. When you come out of a felony conviction jail sentence, they tell you you don't get to own a gun. So until Bruin fixes that, you don't get to own a gun. So that was the first part, is that he was a prohibited person because of his felony. Then the guy that he shot was robbing the place. So the prosecutor's like, expect to get shot if you were a robber. But in this case, the second thing that's going bad for our convicted felon, prohibited person, vape shop manager is that the robber had turned and was running away when he was shot. So I believe that he's going to spend another batch of time in the slammer.
That's why you use a big gun, so that they don't know which way the bullet went in or out.
I don't think I don't want to say I don't think that there's a gun big enough for that because you have cannons. But no, there is a spot where if you're going to use a gun for self-defense, you have to do it right.
Was that there's felonies that do not preclude you from having a gun, because the law says that if you have a felony that would have put you in jail for a year,
okay,
or more than a year, then
you can't have a gun.
Right, but if it's a year or less, then you can. And so, look at that. That's why they got them like 22 degrees of felony, so that they can give everybody one without inhibiting your lifestyle.
Shades of felony. Hey, we'll see you guys next week. Have a happy New Year.